Welcome everybody to this video discussion that I'm having with a good brother who I actually just met not too long ago. I've seen his name. I've seen him around the community on social media, and then I had talked about this brother with a few other people. You know how we do. We got a reference. We got to do a little investigation, and
Absolutely.
everything came back like flying colors with you, bro. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Everything came back flying colors with you, man. And then to top all that off, we've had happened to have a few conversations. You was gracious enough to return my message, and we exchanged phone numbers, and we had a couple of conversations. And man,
Hmm.
lo and behold, bro, we're like peas in a pod, man. We think pretty much alike, you know.
All right. All
So
right.
I'm excited about that to have another elder who thinks like I do and walks like I do and looks at the world the way I do and that's a pleasure, man, to have a brother in my circle like that.
Absolutely. Like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to introduce to my my people and
Hmm.
my audience to brother Dr. Batu Shakari. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you, brother. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here under
Uh,
these circumstances and with a brother that's conscious, committed, and doing the work, putting some
yeah,
work out.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, man, definitely. So
Hmm.
let's go into your career so the family can know. I mean, people who know you already will know these things, but some of the people who are in my audience, in my circle, may not know who you are. So just real briefly, just talk about yourself, and then I'll go into your resume and your bio to follow that up.
Hmm. Well, I always like to start off at the beginning. And I actually became consciously involved in our liberation struggle um, when I was a young lad, actually,
Okay.
in the year 1965. In fact,
Okay.
it was August of 1965 because it happened at the time of the riots, the Watts
Ah,
riots.
oh man, I remember that very well.
And I was inspired um, to write a poem. This is back then. I was a young lad of 13 years old. I had just made 13 years old.
Okay.
And I wrote this poem. The poem is entitled Unity. And I
Mm,
actually published that poem in the book Revolutionary African Poems of Love and War.
okay.
And I published that in 2015. Of course, that was 50 years later. But
I'm going to talk about that as we go into the conversation.
yeah. But it's the Green Book,
Oh,
Revolutionary African Poems of Love and War.
oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that one.
okay,
Yeah, it's a
okay,
poetry.
okay, okay.
And from there, it was just I stepped on the stage of African liberation, and I've never looked back since then.
Mm,
Of course, since then, I've gone on to uh, become a builder of institutions. The African World Research Institute is a brick and mortar institution, not just some online presence somewhere, just somebody just talking.
yeah.
And we're working on building the Temple of Ankh-Rek,
Okay.
which is a spiritual institution that deals with African spirituality
Okay.
along the lines of what our ancestors taught in ancient Kemet.
There you go.
Some people know as Egypt.
Egypt. Yeah.
So um, it's been a long road, and I've wrote several books. I have 12 published works at this juncture, and all of it's directed towards our freedom and independence, the things that African people need to know and do to become free and independent of all foreign domination and control. And it's important that we put emphasis on that all foreign domination and control.
Yes.
because it's not just political or economic or intellectual. It's all levels of dominance, be it spiritual, be it technological, be it military. It's all of that. We have got to liberate ourselves from all foreign domination and control in all of its forms.
Yes.
And not only that, but we need to understand that we have a multitude of foreign predator nations who are dominating us. It is not just the white world. It is not just Europeans. And this is something that we continue as a people, many of us, we continue to ignore that. We
Yes.
think we can just harp on what white folks are doing to us, and then we can completely ignore what Arabs, what Jews, and what Chinese are doing
Right.
to dominate and control the African world.
Right.
So we've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
And I'm an elder now. I'm up in my 70s
Okay.
and been out here a while, have seen a lot of things, and learned a whole lot of
Oh,
things.
tell me about it.
Because a lot of times, and one of the things that I learned, and this was a hard learn for me, because at up to then, I had was under the notion, and many of us are still under this notion, that the only thing that needs to happen with African people is we need to be given the truth. We
Yeah.
need to be given the information. And see, once we have the information, then things will change. Well, that's not true, because it takes more than information to move a people to do what they need to do.
That's
Because
true.
many times what we'll do, we'll just simply ignore the truth. We ignore it.
Right.
And we'll say that, okay, well, yeah, okay, well, what you say here, this and that is true. I see that, but I don't, I'm just not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And that is a serious problem that is prevalent throughout the African world, not just us here in the Western world, in the land of our captivity, as I call it.
Yeah.
But African people are suffering from a multitude of horrible disease processes, that's killing us, literally killing us.
Right.
We're suffering from tribalism, mysticism, primitivism. We're suffering from misleadership, chronic
It's
misleadership,
leadership. Yep.
miseducation, and mismanagement of our labor and land resources by these leaders and scholars who
Yes.
are misleading us.
Yes.
So we've got some serious work to do.
Mhm.
And on top of that, we've got some serious changes to make. And until we do that work, a lot of the stuff that needs to be done is going to continue to go undone,
Yeah.
because we haven't made the changes in ourselves and done the necessary work to make these changes.
No doubt.
So
No doubt. No doubt.
yes, sir.
Man, you didn't disappoint, man. You opened this up, man. We're going to try to cover a lot of what you talked about this now.
Hmm.
We may have to come back for a second and third conversation because we're not going to be able to cover everything tonight.
Hey,
But
bring it on.
you
We
you
got to put it
put
out here.
yeah, you did. You pretty much put everything in a nutshell what our condition is right now. And we're sick, boss. We're sick. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the way it is. Real quick on your bio. Um, Brother Batu was born in Chicago, Illinois, 1952. So that puts you actually 1 year younger than me.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, my elder.
I don't know why. I don't know why I thought you was older than me, but now that I'm
Uh,
reading this again, I see that
mhm.
you're 1 year younger than me.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm your elder dude.
All right.
He holds a doctorate degree in nationhood development and maintenance from the. You can elaborate on that a little bit later. Maintenance
Mhm.
from the Black People's Topographical Research Center, a bachelor's degree in sociology from Northeastern Illinois University, and an associate degree in nursing from Olive Harvey College. You have a hell of a background, bro.
Oh, thank you.
He is a husband, a father, a lawyer, advocate, defender, practitioner of African familyhood and culture. You've keynoted that in very eloquently in your opening statement there. You are the founder and director of the African World Research Institute and the founder and the Kenti Seba of the Temple of Ankh. Now, you said you're still putting that together. Is it up
Right.
and running now, or what?
No, it's not. We don't have a brick and mortar building for it,
Okay.
but we are definitely teaching it at the African World Research Institute.
Okay. Okay. Do you
We
plan on doing
definitely
do
teach
you
it
plan on
and
putting a
have been
brick?
teaching it since we opened. We've been
Oh,
there for almost 30 years now.
that's awesome because I want to be involved with that if I can at some point in the future. Um,
Absolutely.
Even though I'm kind of far away from you, I want to at least
Mhm.
at some point get involved with that. But do you plan on doing a brick and mortar thing with that temple?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're raising funds even as we speak.
Okay.
Okay. We
Yeah.
doing what
Let's
we got to do.
put that out there for the people who are listening in on our conversation here. And we
Mhm.
obviously we're going to put all this information in the summary and the description of the video once we post this, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
and your publications and everything else.
Mhm.
So you've been supplying, both of them have been supplying African people with an education for liberation for almost 30 years. You said that. You've
Mhm.
been actively involved in a worldwide African liberation struggle for over 50 years, and you have dedicated your time, energy, and resources and life to the full realization of the noble cause. You talked about well, no, we didn't talk about your research. You did a
Mhm.
scientific study on the science of social anatomy in 1979, which involved the study and structure of functioning of nations. And
Mhm.
then you had a scientific study on ancient Kemetic, what they call Egyptian spiritual teachings, and
Mhm.
that was called the Ankh or the Life Sciences in 1991. Obviously, you have your publications, you have your multimedia, audiovisual productions, and we're gonna
Mhm.
put that also in the description and the summary of the video once we get it up and post it online.
All right.
So yeah, man, you're heavy, bro. You're a heavy hitter, man. Um,
Thank you, brother.
and I appreciate you, and we appreciate you,
Mhm.
your work. Um, Now, what's important is in our conversation, because I want to make sure we talk about this before we go any further. In our
Uh-huh.
conversation, and you hit me really, really hard with this, and it was an emotional thing with you too. You talked about the ancestor, um, Nkosi Mundari,
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Nkosi Mundari. Give us a rundown and on his life and his his accomplishments and his achievements, and what did he mean to you?
Oh, well, I mean, this brother was fantastic. He actually was at the opening of the African World Research Institute
Okay.
back in 1996.
Mhm.
And I had met him a couple of years earlier. I had did a lecture at Northeastern Illinois University, and he came to the lecture. And I had told him then, because we were working on opening up the African World Research Institute, we were doing the fundraising and all of that.
Mhm.
And so he wanted a copy of the Tribalism book at that time.
Okay.
So, he got a copy of the Tribalism book. I also gave him he also wanted to get a copy of Revolutionary Thought. So he bought both of those books
Okay.
at the lecture.
Oh, okay.
And so fast forward 2 years later, in 96, he came to the Institute at the opening.
Okay.
And boy, he was just blown away. We had everything set up and set out. And so he became involved with uh, the putting together and the structure and the running of the African World Research Institute.
Okay.
And at that time, we had everything in place relative to a bachelor program, which is a 4-year program. We had a 3-year master program and a 3-year doctorate program.
Okay.
So before he made his transition in 2018.
Mm.
He had completed his doctorate degree.
Wow.
In fact, it was only a couple of months before he made his transition. He graduated with his doctorate degree from the Institute in 2018 of May. He
Wow.
made his transition in August of 2018, only a
Wow.
couple of months. And
Wow.
he will be sorely missed. I mean, this brother was fantastic.
Right.
He was an excellent researcher. He was an excellent speaker. I mean, par excellence speaker. This
Okay.
brother was rough. He
Okay.
was rough. And so he was really a brother who was dead serious. He was a practitioner of African familyhood and culture.
Okay.
Um, he was just a wonderful, wonderful, great and committed African warrior scholar, you
Wow.
know. And like I said, he has two published books. He's put out several audiovisual tapes.
Okay.
So he was a force to reckon with. It's no question about it. You know,
Okay.
anyone who knew him and was in the circle around him knew that he was one of our greats. He was one of our intellectual giants. It's no question
Wow.
about it, you know. Yeah.
Whew. Man, oh man. I mean, I get chills just listening to you talk about the brother, man. And it's a shame that, guys like that can't people don't know a lot about, guys like
Right.
him and men like him who who
Hmm.
who walked this planet and
Yep.
gave that contribution the way that they did.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But this is what we are charged to do, and make
Hmm.
sure that his legacy is upheld, and the word is out there about his great work and how great a man he was.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you did that. You blessed me with a DVD when I got some books from you,
Hmm.
um, with a DVD from him and Nkosi Mundari,
Oh
Ph.D.,
yeah.
A Killer in
Yeah.
the House.
Woo,
Um,
man.
you told me it was a powerful piece,
Oh yeah.
and I'm going to look at it. I haven't looked at it yet because I had just got this yesterday. You had just sent this package to me yesterday, so I
Okay.
got I got the books,
Hmm.
and but before I even got the books that I had just recently bought from you, I had already bought three books from you:
Oh, okay.
Revolutionary Thought, and I want to get into that. I just showed you the thing anyway earlier.
Hmm.
Tribalism, Mysticism, and Primitivism,
Hmm.
and Facing the Truth Straight with No Chaser. So
Okay.
I was introduced to you with those three works,
All right.
and I was already convinced, and it was already established in my mind that you are a warrior for the African people, because your words speak loud and clear in the way that you write your books, because it's
Mhm.
coming straight for you, like you said, straight, no chaser. You ain't
That's
playing.
right.
You're not playing with this thing.
Oh no.
Okay? You're not playing with
Mm-mm.
this thing. So
That's it.
let's go into a couple of topics. Like I said, we're not going to try to be on here all night, but
Hmm.
one of the things I had talked to you about one of the topics I want to talk about is capitalism and the reality of white supremacy.
Hmm.
So before let's set the stage with the origins and its manifestations. What can you tell us about that capitalism with white supremacy, how they work together, and its origins and manifestations of such? What is your take on that?
Hmm. Well, basically, when I talk about those two, because they go hand in hand with each other. There's no
Yeah, that's
question about that.
yeah, no
You
doubt
know,
about it. Yeah, yep,
they go hand in hand. But one evolves out of the other. So
yes,
when you talk about white supremacy and capitalism, you have to talk first about white supremacy
yeah,
because capitalism evolves out of white supremacy.
right,
It is a white supremacist concept, especially in terms of how they have initiated it and enforced it throughout the world. Now, in terms of white supremacy, white supremacy in essence, what white supremacy is white folks coming to the conclusion that they are the best among all of the other nations of the earth. They consider themselves to be the best, the superior ones among all of the other races that make up the so-called human kingdom. Okay? So, African people Really, I mean, we need to be clear. There is nothing essentially wrong with white folks taking that position.
Right.
They take the position that they are great, they are wonderful, and they are the best. The problem that white supremacy presents for us is that we have not come to those same conclusions. That we are the best,
Yeah.
we are all of that,
Oh
and
man.
we are number one.
Exactly.
Okay. Truth be told, every nation of people on the face of the earth should feel the same way that they are the best.
Yes.
Okay, you should never put any other people. In fact, we should never put any other life form above us.
Right.
We shouldn't, period. White folks are the living, breathing manifestation of a people who live that. They
Right.
don't just talk it, they live it. Okay? African people, again, we have this notion, we take the position that whites are, are somehow doing a horrible thing by going throughout the world asserting their dominance over the other nations of the earth.
Yeah.
Now, true, that is problematic for the other nations who they attack, dominate, control, and destroy. It's no question about that.
Right.
But see, what we need to understand is the universal laws that are in operation in this universe that we live in. In this universe that we live in, there is a such thing as the universal law of opposites.
Yes.
There is a such thing as other life forms who are our enemies. And it's more than one set of enemies in the world.
Exactly.
Every life form in the universe, truth be told, has its own set of enemies. In other words, other life forms who will dominate, control, and do them harm if they are not on the job doing what they're supposed to do to preserve and protect their right to exist and have quote unquote a good life for themselves. Every life form must make a good life for themselves. You cannot depend on other people to treat you in a way that is beneficial to you. You cannot depend on other people to do that.
Right.
You must make that happen by how you go about the business of living your life
Yep.
and making sure that other people respect your rights to be free, independent, and empowered in this life.
Yep.
Every life form has that responsibility. African people want to shirk that responsibility because we have come to this asinine conclusion that we're all human beings, and therefore, since we're all human beings, no human being should consider themselves to be better or greater or more wonderful than any other human being because
Right.
all of us are the same.
Right.
Well, see, that flies in the face of open and obvious reality.
Right.
Just like there are different animals in the world, there are different types of human beings in the world.
Yeah. I want to touch on that. Keep on going.
There's just like there's different types of insects.
Yep.
There's different types of birds, different types of everything
Right.
in the universe. So African people have got to fully understand and internalize the fact that we have a responsibility to be the best that we can be in this life and
Right.
to regard ourselves as being the best.
Right.
Does that mean that we have to go throughout the world and dominate and control everybody? Of course, that don't mean that.
No.
Whites have simply taken this idea that they are the best and all the rest of that, and they've taken it to the extreme.
Yep.
They've said that not only am I the best and I'm wonderful and I'm great, but you know what? I'm greater than all other people on the planet.
Right.
And not only that, but I have a right, since I am the greatest and the best, I have the right to dominate and control everybody else's life.
Yes.
In fact, I have so much of a right to dominate and control everybody. I should have the power to determine who lives or dies.
Exactly.
And this is what they have done.
Let's let's
We
let's talk
can,
let's talk about that for a minute.
okay.
Now, anybody who's done any kind of a modicum of research on the European knows
Hmm.
about the Dark Ages of Europe.
Uh-huh.
Knows about how they came up out of that. Centuries and centuries of warfare,
Right.
centuries of disease and pestilence and famine,
For sure.
no hygiene. I mean, it was a mess. It was total insanity on that continent for a long, long time.
For sure.
You are in the throes and the depths of that kind of chaos. But as
Hmm.
long as they have to see the kind of killing that happened between them, a life didn't mean anything but with them. They
Hmm.
developed an attitude of this warrior attitude where I'm just going to take what I want because that's what people did to me. They took
Hmm.
from each other. It got to the
Right.
point where they just, they developed in a way the scientific knowledge of warfare,
Hmm.
the modern techniques of warfare,
Hmm.
gunpowder, the use of metals and steel and iron,
Hmm.
they came out of the brass age and the copper age and went right
Right.
into the iron age.
Yep.
So bullets, guns, projectiles, they came out of that thing thinking, okay, what you just said about them thinking they're better than another. Well, yeah. Now
Hmm.
the attitude was there, but the attitude was enforced that I have the power to do it. I have the
Absolutely.
means to do it. And
Absolutely.
when they came up out of Europe, they said, I'm taking every damn thing because I can.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
That was all about. Now we had our skirmishes on the planet. China
Hmm.
had its skirmish, China had a long time where they fought each other and everything, and they even
Right.
developed gunpowder.
Hmm.
Okay. But they didn't have the tools of warfare like the European did.
Hmm.
Or they could put up a pretty good battle. The European did come into China. They had a hard time with the Asians because they
Hmm.
developed some science, some science as well,
Hmm.
military science as well. But going
Hmm.
into the continent, South America, North America, the islands,
Hmm.
the southeastern island area,
Hmm.
um, the Mex, the southern area of Mexico
Hmm.
and the Caribbean.
Right.
We weren't ready for that.
Right.
We weren't ready for that, so we had to bow to their power.
Hmm.
Okay, that's basically what. So why do they do what they do? Because they can.
Absolutely.
Because they
Absolutely.
now let's fast. Because I want you to respond to this. Let's
Hmm.
fast. Let's do a fast jump to
Hmm.
slavery. Okay,
Hmm.
we taking everything into consideration what I just said. Now
Hmm.
we're taking, we got tribal chieftains and people and villages and stuff saying, okay, look, either you go out there and you kidnap your own people, bring them to the coast and put them in these dungeons, and we take them over to North America. We building a nation over here. We
Hmm.
we're starting a new nation based on capitalism and agriculture because everything
Hmm.
was based on agriculture back then. Okay,
Hmm.
so we need people to build this country.
Hmm.
So you kidnap your own people for the most part. That's what happened. Although
Absolutely.
although they did some taking too, but the hard work wasn't done by them. It was done by
No.
their own people
Us.
and
Us.
filled those
Hmm.
damn dungeons up on the coast. And when you go up and down the west coast of Africa, how
Yeah,
many
especially Ghana.
of those
Yeah.
installations was it? A good
Yep.
300, 400 installations.
That's right.
So we're talking about Ghana, we're talking about Sierra Leone, but guess what?
Yep.
That was up and down the entire west coast of Africa where those dungeons and
Absolutely.
were.
Absolutely.
And they don't
It's
tell the whole story on that.
right. Because we're ashamed of what we did
We're ashamed to
to
talk
each
about that.
other.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want to. That's why you got some among us who claim to be scholars who's out here even now
right.
talking about, it's a myth that we sold each other into slavery. Damn
Right.
it, we did sell
We
each
did.
other
We
into
did.
slavery.
We did do it. We did do
You
it.
know,
And
you
and
get,
and
yeah.
we should really consider ourselves a little bit fortunate because they just straight out committed genocide pretty much everywhere they went. Just
Mm.
ask the Tasmanians. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Just ask the Indians of North American continent, South American continent. Just ask the
That's right.
Aztecs. Just ask those people
That's
who
right.
are, there's only a few of those ancestors of their, of the descendants,
Mm-hmm.
still around,
Mm-hmm.
in the South American continent. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and don't even talk about the damn Indians in North America. Let's not even talk about
Right.
that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they could now, the point I want to make is this
Mm-hmm.
slavery, okay? They became a model for the superiority attitude. And I believe that the whole thing with this slavery thing, with the European and North American going into South America, because the Europeans still the same no matter where you go. North America, South America, whatever, Canada, they're all the
That's
same. They're
right.
citizens. They may speak Spanish and French and
Exactly.
English and all that, but they're still the same damn people.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when Nazi Germany came into play
Mm-hmm.
during World War II, well, first let's go to World War One.
Mm-hmm.
They were superior people anyway, just by the way they treated Africans in the Congo and the central part of the continent.
Mm-hmm.
Germany was doing that even before they got to World War II with the Jews.
Absolutely.
So the Herero people,
Mm-hmm.
let's do some homework, people. That's all we ask you to do. You know what I
Right.
mean? So when you say there are different kind of insects and different kind of animals and different kind of organisms, different kind of humans. That's
Mm-hmm.
true. They are different kinds of.
Absolutely.
They have a whole different mentality. They were bred that way.
Mm-hmm.
They are warlike people. They have no other way of it. They have no other way of existing on this planet unless they're taking something and destroying something.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. But
Mm-hmm.
here is this is where eugenics comes into play. This whole
Mm-hmm.
thing about eugenics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly where it started. I do know that there was a baron or somebody, a German baron, who created this science, what they call racial purity, the theory
Mm-hmm.
of racial purity,
Mm-hmm.
uh, for Nazi Germany and Hitler. And
Mm-hmm.
he created that. And then you had was it Mengele? What's his name? I think I wrote his down here. Uh,
When you talking about the German guy, or
The
you talking
German
about
doctor, Mengele.
Mingala? I think his name
Mengele,
is
yeah,
Mingala or
Mengele.
something like
And
that.
he actually got his Ph.D. on the reason why other human beings besides the Aryan had
Mm-hmm.
cleft palates. So this doctorate thesis that he did on cleft palates was the whole basis of the Aryan nation and the white and this racial purity and white superiority coming out of Nazi Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
now eugenics has just evolved into all this other crap that we see now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's allowed to perpetuate, and I don't want to put false signals up to anybody, but anybody
Mm-hmm.
who's looking at what's happening now with these conservatives and Trump and these other guys who are taking the DEI way and all this other stuff, if you're
Mm-hmm.
not looking at this stuff and don't think that we can go right back to where we was at,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in World War One or World War Two, then you're a fool.
Mm-hmm. There's no
You are
question
a fool.
about it.
You are a fool. So
It's no.
look,
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time, look at where this stuff comes from. The
Mm-hmm.
genesis, their behavior, how they became what they became. They was always like that, but they came out of this insanity of this dark age of Europe, and then
Right.
after that, it was over for the world. It was over for the globe, and it was over
Mm-hmm.
for the planet.
Well,
Okay.
it's no question about that. It's no question about that.
Right.
Europeans have been doing their thing in the air in the area of warfare ever since early Greece.
Oh yeah.
So they go way back. They go thousands of years back in terms of honing their fighting skills.
Right.
They started practicing uh, uh, death and destruction and warfare um, long before they started doing that practice on each other. So
And
by the time they came out,
slavery wasn't nothing new. Not to
yeah, I
them.
mean, yeah,
They just
they
happened.
were talking about slavery back in Greece,
They just happened to enslave each other before they got to us.
absolutely. And so, I mean, it's not, these things are not anything to new to them.
No.
Slavery was not new to whites.
No. No. Not at all.
Warfare, killing, taking over people's land, that was a way of life
Right.
among them. It's
Right.
not nothing new. So when they came out of Egypt after doing all of this practice among themselves, they were lean, mean fighting machines.
That's
Okay.
right. That's
And
right.
they were prepared to take
Right.
over the world.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they did just that.
Right.
They did just that. They
Right.
took all of North America, they took most of South America, they took a vast portion of Asia, and then they enslaved all of Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception, maybe once they say that, Ethiopia was supposed to be the one that, didn't suffer it. But the bottom line is when you go into any nation, when you go into, and Africa is one nation, and that's something that I drum home to our people all of the time. Right now, you're looking at a continent who has divided themselves
Right.
against each other tribalistically. We're all one people, but because of we have allowed the disease of tribalism to infect us,
Right.
we have become infected with a disease that has divided us against each other.
Just
Europeans,
one
and let me
copy.
just put this in right quick.
Okay.
When Europeans came up on the continent, they simply took advantage of a house that was already divided against itself.
Very true.
They did not cause the division. They
Right.
simply took advantage of our divided state.
Agreed.
And we still, to this day, have not addressed the problem of the massive tribalism that allowed Europeans and Arabs to even come in and enslave us in the first place.
Right. Right.
Until we address and solve that problem,
Right.
you and I are not going to ever get out from under European, Arab, Jewish, or Chinese domination and control. We'll never get out from under because you won't have the unified cohesion necessary to produce a united front against those who are trying to destroy you.
Yeah.
We keep sweeping that under the rug, though. We don't want to talk about something that is as massive and pervasive as tribalism. But let me tell you this, my brother and sister, until we address that problem and pull all of that garbage out from under the rug, you and I are not going to be able to move forward and do anything about the people who are attacking us.
Right.
Not anything effective, you're not.
Right.
And this is what whites and other nations have always looked at.
Mm-hmm.
They have always looked at the fact that, oh, yeah, black people will put up a fight. But the question becomes, how effective is the fight?
Right.
Enemies don't care if you fight back. I teach this to my students all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Enemies do not care if you're willing to fight them back. They take it as a given that most people will fight you back. And that's just a fact. Most people will fight you back.
Right.
The only issue is most people don't lack the love, the loyalty, the unity, the organization, the modern day knowledge, skill, sciences, technology, machinery, weaponry, common directions and common goals to fight you back effectively.
Right.
So I don't give a crap if you just flailing your arms, swinging and flinging it. I don't care about that.
Right.
Many of us right now today, and I always say this, and I know this hurts a lot of our feelings, but a lot of us have come under this illusion that all we have to do is learn some martial arts, some
Mm.
capoeira, or some karate, or
Right.
some jujitsu, or something like that.
Right.
That's not gonna hand-to-hand combat, my brothers and sisters. That went out the window thousands of years ago.
There's no such thing as conventional warfare right now anyway.
You're not gonna be able to fight these people with hand-to-hand combat. You can throw
Right.
that out the window. And until we get serious, and I mean dead serious, until we get serious about loving ourselves, uniting among ourselves, being properly governing ourselves, being independent mass producers of everything that we use in life, being skilled fighters in all areas of modern combat and warfare, um, maintaining continuous modernization among ourselves in all areas of modernization. And until we get dead serious about becoming the sole builders and administrators over our own modern and independent civilization and culture in the world, and I'm talking about a unified and organized civilization and culture that covers that whole continent that we call Kemet or Mother Africa, whatever name we want to come up with. We, truth be told, we need to rename that whole continent Kemet. Kemet means the black land. It's our
Yeah.
land. Every
Yes.
inch of it belongs to us.
Yes, sir.
Okay? That's the reality. But the
Yep.
reality is when you talk about a people achieving freedom and independence, I tell our people this all of the time. A nation is a team. That's what a nation is. It is a unified and organized team. Any people that you see that's not operating as a team, they're not a nation.
Right.
All they are is a group of people. Oh yeah, they're a group of people. They may have common language. They may have common everything, common color, common hair type, and they may even live on a common landmass.
Right.
But if they're not operating as a team, they're not a nation. And this is what other nations have peeped about you and I.
Yes.
Peeped the idea that African people are so pitifully divided against each other, they're not even able, and I say this in all honesty, and I'm not trying to just signify against African people. Do you know that we don't even produce our own drawers, our
Yes.
own underwear?
Yep.
So wait a minute, hold it right there. You as a people globally don't even produce your own pens, pencils, toothpicks, toilet paper, toothbrushes, toothpaste,
Yep.
or underwear. You don't
Yep.
produce that. And I haven't even talked about the major things in the world like this computer that we speaking on. This
Yeah.
is a part of the modern day world. You
Yeah.
and I, as a people, globally, we don't produce no computers. We don't produce no cell phones. We don't even produce the damn lights that we use to look and see things with
Right.
at nighttime. You and I don't even do that. But you are sitting up here talking about white folks and calling them names? Come on now. It's time for us to refocus on ourselves.
Right.
I'm clear what white folks have done, and they have proven this to the whole damn world.
Yes, they have.
They are cunning, ruthless killers and land grabbers. That's what they are. And history bears that out. So don't argue
Right.
with me. Go to the books and read for yourself.
That's all you got to do.
And most of the books that you're going to go to, I hate to say it, but most of the books that you go to find that out is books that they wrote.
Exactly.
They documented what they did to you and I.
Right.
And the best that we can do is come up with new names to call them. That's
Right.
our idea of fighting back. That's
Right.
your idea. So wait a
Right.
minute. You ain't gonna unite with your brother and sister. You're not gonna organize with your brother and sister, except for on a media platform somewhere where you can
Right.
you can be nice and cozy in the comfort of your own bedroom and put out some stuff that was put out there by some of our heavyweights like Dr. John Henry Clark.
Right.
We quick to put up a post of what some of the heavyweights said. We'll
We
put
ain't
up
nothing
Dr.
but
Clark.
we ain't nothing but parrots, man.
Yeah, there you go. And see, that's another problem. That's another problem. We have got to get ourselves in the mindset of realizing that they did their work for us
Right.
during their lifetime.
Right.
It is our job to act on what they did and build upon it.
Yes.
It's not enough for you and I to keep parroting what's already been said. I don't have to repeat what Dr. John Henry Clark said. He said it and said it well.
Yes.
All I have to do is embrace what he said and implement what he said. And then
Yes.
I need to look at what he said and say, how can I build on this and make it even more relevant and effective to bring about the end game of this
Yeah.
liberation struggle? Because see,
Yes.
you and there's no way, if we were serious, there is no way that we should still be struggling for freedom and independence,
Right.
struggling for liberation. We've been under attack from foreigners for 6 to 8,000 damn years. How long are you supposed to fight for your liberation from a people who've been attacking your ass for 6,000 years?
Yes.
And you still struggling. That means you ain't been serious.
Right.
Because a serious damn people ain't gonna struggle for no damn 6,000 years. I don't give a damn what you say. The reason why we have not achieved our freedom and independence because we have not been serious. We want to talk our way to freedom and independence. And
Yeah.
freedom and independence ain't about just no damn talk. In
Mm-mm.
fact, a people who's serious about freedom and independence, they only talk long enough so that everybody knows what needs to be done, and then they get busy.
Mm.
That's how liberation go. You
Yep.
don't go generation after generation after generation. Talk, 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 talk. You steady talking. Yo, right now we have talked so long, and I say this all of the time. We have talked so long that the people who have us enslaved in the world, they
Mm.
done got tired of us being their slaves. I don't need
Exactly.
you no more. You've been talking so long that I have invested in science and technology and machinery and automation. I have put your black butt out of a job now. So
Right.
now I'm not even working on enslaving you no more because that's a given. You under my dominance, and that makes you my slave, Negro.
Right.
I don't have to work on putting you under my dominance no more. I'm working on getting rid of you. I don't need you no more. And that continent that we love to talk about and point at and say is ours, nope. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. A people's land, let me tell you, a people's land only belongs to them up to the point that they can preserve and protect it.
Right.
The point at which you can no longer preserve and protect that land, you can kiss that land goodbye.
Yeah.
And in the modern day world, the only way you're going to protect your land and your life is if you have the military wherewithal to do so.
Yeah.
Without that, you can shut the hell up and you might as well start digging your own grave.
Yeah.
That's why it's so disheartening. And I'm just telling you, it's so disheartening to look at the condition of the African world today because we just talking. And somehow we think that just through talking, and then we pass the struggle on, this same struggle that's been going on for 6,000 years now, we're just passing it on to the next generation. We just drop it in their lap. And every generation does the same thing. We drop it in the lap, drop it in the lap. No unity, no organization, no building, none of that.
Yeah.
So if we don't break that cycle, I've said it before and I'll continue to say it until I make my transition. If we don't break this cycle of thinking that we can talk our way out of our condition, we can kiss this life goodbye.
Yeah.
And that's all it is to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now you talked about everything you talked about really revolves around our mental health of our community and ourselves as individuals. But what do you say before I get into mental health? Because I want to get into mental health a little bit. Before we go there, what do you think about how we're now being kind of phased out because of the advancement of AI and robotic machinery and things of that nature? Do you think because of the reason why, because we got so lazy and so satisfied with where we're at, we happen to be in probably the richest, right now we're not the richest country in the world, but we're we're probably number two. And as African Americans, as Black people here, we feel very comfortable because it's been cushy, it's been soft. We haven't had the struggle. I mean, there's been struggle, but economically wise, even at the lower stratas of our social system here in North America, we still live a pretty good life.
Compared to others, yeah.
Compared to the rest of the world, they call second and third world countries. Touch on the mental health aspects of some of your work, and I'm going to go to revolutionary thought, which I showed earlier.
Okay.
So revolution and people in the summary and the definition of the book. I mean, I'm sorry, of the video. This brother's catalog should be there, and if you want to buy his works, it'll be the links and stuff will be there. But based on issues with mental health, in your book, Revolutionary Thought, on page 31, you talk about being Black, the Declaration of being Black. And in this, I thought was very, very insightful. You have 10 items, what you think it means to be being Black, the Declaration of being Black. And I think that if people understood how you can declare yourself in your heart and your mind and your soul of being Black, just by repeating these 10 declarations, you go a long way to solving some of our issues internally on an individual basis. But number one and number two, I'll just read number one and number two. Being Black means loving African people with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. And then number two, being Black means recognizing all African people as being one people, no matter where you may be located geographically upon this earth. And you go on with 10 of these, and I think it's very, very, telling that this is how simple it can be as individual African people, where we have some standards in place where we can gauge our mental,
mental well-being. Yeah.
There you go. You took about mental well-being, and then on page 22, you can see I've been through your book already.
Okay.
On page 22, we're talking about on leadership and social anatomy. And part of our issue here, why we have continued to do the same things over and over again, because we had what you call misdirected leadership and misleadership and all and things, and that's the big thing about and why we had these issues on the continent, around the world, the diaspora all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
on leadership and social anatomy, how can we allow anyone to serve as a so-called leader for us to work on healing the ills of our people who has no knowledge of social anatomy, the structure
Mm-hmm.
and function of societies? We
Mm-hmm.
just talked about understanding the history
Mm-hmm.
of our not just our enemies, but of
Mm-hmm.
all civilizations on this planet. So we'll know why we are where we at, the history of ourselves, and the
Mm-hmm.
history of our of what they call recent history of ourselves. Why do we
Mm-hmm.
continue to be uh you know stepped on the way we are?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then being honest, being humble, being honest about that is where we start.
Mm-hmm.
Touch on that
Mm-hmm.
again. I know you just talked about it a lot on with your last soliloquy, but touch on that a little bit on our mental health.
Mm-hmm. Well, um, African people, we have lost the knowledge of the science of social anatomy.
Right,
Social anatomy is the scientific study of the structure and functioning of nations. So that becomes a foundational piece when you're trying to rebuild a healthy and functional civilization and culture for yourself.
right,
First thing you have to understand are what are the major essentials of a nation? What are the basic things that must be in place for you to have a healthy and functional nation? And we established that by doing the research to come up with what we call the comparative chart of biological and sociological anatomical systems.
mm,
Those are the basic, it points out the basic social systems that must be in place for a nation to function in a healthy and functional way. We talk about, when you're talking about a people's culture, you're talking about their social systems, you're talking about their language, social organization, government, law, familyhood, police, military, education, medicine, religion, technology, and criminal justice. Those are the major components of a people's culture. Major components. If you got those 12 major components and they are functioning in a healthy and functional way, you're not going to have anything to worry about because you're going to be on top of all of the major things to prevent you from falling into ruin, not only at the hands of external enemies, but also at the hands of internal enemies. And see,
exactly.
that's another thing that African people have got to fully understand, that a people can be destroyed internally
Yes,
just as horrifically as they can be destroyed by external enemies coming in to destroy them.
right.
So, this is why it is so critically important that African people get a handle on social anatomy, get a handle on what it takes for us to get ourselves back in order here.
Right.
You know, um, nations have to have functional laws, and they have to have law enforcement apparatus in place. One of the reasons why we have so much chronic misleadership and miseducation is because no one among the leaders and scholars that most of us have embraced and all the rest of that, among them, they have no accountability to African people. They don't. No one is holding them accountable.
Exactly.
Therefore, they tell us whatever the hell they want to tell us, and they do whatever the hell they want to do.
Right.
You can't have leaders and scholars who are at the helm of the directions that a whole nation of people is going into, and they're not being held accountable.
Right.
They're just allowed to do whatever they want to do, say whatever they want to say, have whatever they want to have, and no one holds them accountable because what we have made the fatal mistake of doing, and we do it all of the time, we end up transforming them into sacred cows.
Right.
That all of a sudden they're so high and mighty that they can't even be approached. They're untouchable.
Right.
So we basically just let them have their way and do whatever they want to do. This is why you have us believing in a lot of the nonsense that we believe in today. We got leaders and scholars that's teaching us stuff like, oh, don't worry about stuff that's going on in the world. Jesus is coming back. Or you have other leaders and scholars among us who said, "Oh, well, don't worry about that because the mothership is coming back, and there's a mothership coming, and Allah has everything under control."
Right.
This is insanity.
Yes.
This is insanity. You have other leaders and scholars who tell them, well, really, we don't really have to worry about too much because all we have to do is learn all we need to do is get our money thing together. See,
right.
Get your money thing together and then everything will be okay. That is absolute insanity. African people we cannot solve our problem just because we get a handle on earning other people's money. That's not going to solve our problem.
No.
So what you have, money. I'll kill you and take your money.
Right.
How about that? Plus, the money that you have is my money anyway. Oh, yeah. And if you want to talk about, we got all that gold and diamonds over in Africa. Oh, really? Well, I tell you what, I've put Africa at the top of my list of nations to take over.
Right.
So when I take over your land and slaughter you because you ain't got no army, no navy, no air force, no marines, no special forces, no space forces, you ain't got a damn thing to defend yourself with. But you sitting up here flashing this card like you got so much resources. Right. Yeah, you got resources, but do you have the equipment to go into the earth, extract those resources, and do you have the machinery to fashion those resources into sellable products on the international stage?
Yeah.
You don't have that, do you? That's the reason why other nations come into our motherland and they have their way with our resources.
Yeah.
They have their way, number one, because you and I don't have a handle on controlling our resources. And we got leaders and scholars who have made everything in Africa for sale. Do you know you got African countries over there right now who have sold the water rights in their own so-called nations? The water rights.
Let alone the ports and the roads and the railroad, the whole works.
I mean, come on. If you sell
the airports, everything.
Everything. This is our insanity. African people have got to get a handle on holding their leaders and scholars accountable. Right. If you let a leader come up, I don't give a damn who he is or she is. If they come up to you talking about, I only answer to God. That is the point, right? I only answer to God or Allah or Yahweh or Amun-Ra. As soon as they open their mouth and say that to you, that is the point that you're supposed to kick their asses completely out of any position of leadership in your society. Because what they are telling you is that they have a greater allegiance to someone, be it God or anybody damn else. They have a greater allegiance to that other entity than you.
Yes.
And if they have a greater allegiance to anybody other than you, they have no right to be your leader or scholar. They ain't supposed to be leading you nowhere, and they ain't supposed to be teaching you anything about what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
So these are the things that we've got to address. Our mental state, like you just mentioned, is horrible. It's horrible because we haven't taken the time to seize control over over the education of ourselves and our own children. That's why it's all monked up. We don't want to take the responsibility to create the curriculum that we are going to teach ourselves and our children, and build institutions to sustain it.
Yes.
Because we can't just keep on with these info bites that we putting up on Facebook. We'll put an info bite that's a powerful piece of information. It's powerful.
I like that.
You know, a lot of it is powerful, but see, you need brick and mortar institutions.
Right.
You need to build, support, attend, and maintain your own institutions that's going to teach that information generation after generation after generation, as long as that people continues to exist.
Yeah.
We have dropped the ball when it comes to educating ourselves and our children.
Yeah.
And we have basically, right now, basically we just serve up ourselves and our children to our enemies to educate us.
Yeah.
And then we just throw a little sprinkling of blackness in there. We say that, well, you know, y'all should have a Black History Month. Something like that. Some little insignificant nothing. You have to educate yourself 24/24.
Yeah.
A nation of people has to have institutions that's educating them forever.
Yes.
Every day, all day.
Ongoing.
And until we do that, we're going to be behind the 8 ball in terms of education too.
Yeah.
And everything else. You got to, if you want your people to have a rational concept of the Creator and what our responsibilities are in life, you have to build spiritual institutions to reinforce that.
Yes.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
You can't let Europeans, Arabs, Jews, Chinese, or the Hindus, you can't let other people educate you on what your relationship is to the one Creator.
Right.
Or educate you on, well, hell, they'll educate you and tell you who the one Creator is.
Exactly.
As if you ain't got a brain to decipher for yourself who the one Creator is.
Well, we've been worshiping other people's manifestations of their creators for eons. So
exactly,
you know,
exactly. But then we'll turn around scratching our head talking about, I wonder why Black people is so messed up and confused, and we just going every which way. Well, that's the reason why you're going every which way. You are not in control of the institutions that keep you in common directions and common goals. A nation, as I said earlier, as I started this discussion off with, a nation is a team. You can't have your team going in every which way.
No.
Every direction under the sun, and expect that you're gonna get somewhere in life.
I believe that when I hear people all the time say they want to have this multicultural
stuff,
and multidisciplinary dogmatic committee. You know what I mean? We don't care if you believe in Allah. We don't care if you believe in Jesus Christ. We don't believe in Buddha. We don't care about all that. But we care that you're African. We want you to come to the table so we can have a common agenda. Well, yeah, that idea sounds great.
Right.
But what happens with the application of that agenda? What happens to the synthesis of that agenda? Can these other people adopt synthesizing something that they are theoretically and dogmatically against?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you just can't do it. As a leader, we have to be honest and rigid about the discipline of our groups, and all groups had to be in lockstep and on one accord, and dogmatically we cannot be separated.
That's right.
We cannot have different dogmatic beliefs. It's never going to work.
Never.
It's never going to work.
And see, that's why, and I always try to reference when I say that, because I say exactly the same thing. Right. I always reference that by pointing out the people who rule this world, which is Europeans, they're on one accord.
Right.
Spiritually, politically, economically, you name it, they on one accord.
Right.
That's the reason why they have so much damn power.
Right.
Because they work as a team. It's teamwork. That's what gives them that power. They get together with each other to produce the technologies that they're gonna use in the world, the weaponry they're gonna use in the world. They get together with each other to do all that stuff. They got together with each other to agree on carving up Africa.
Right.
During the Berlin Conference.
Right.
They got together as a team and said, you know what? These niggas ain't doing nothing with that continent over there. We're going to carve it up and we're going to take it from them.
Exactly.
The hell with them.
Right.
They ain't on one accord. They all tribalistic. They speaking 1,000 in Africa right now today. There's over 2,000. Hear me well, brother. Over 2,000 different languages.
Wow.
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. You mean to tell me you are so divided against yourselves that y'all can't even speak one tongue so that you can consolidate your ideas and resources continent-wide and get yourself in order? You can't do that? Well, if you can't, I'm going to tell you one thing what's going to happen to you. You're going to be overran by other nations who can do that.
Right.
They're going to take not only your life, but they're going to take that land. And I mean every inch of it, every inch. And I always remind our people, don't tell me that they can't take the continent. Do not tell me that, because the Arabs have already taken 1/3 of it. All of North Africa is under Arab domination and control. So we only got 2/3 of the continent left. And you sitting up here telling me they can't take it? Of course they can take it. I always like to flip the script on that. If you say they can't take it, then show me how you would be able to prevent them from doing it.
Exactly.
Show me that. Since you're telling me that they can't do it.
Right.
Show me how you're going to be able to protect it. And you don't even produce a good slingshot.
Yeah, we have a good feel good story going on right now, you know, with the brother Traore over there. You know, it's a good feel good story. But the bottom line, and he's got some military backing. He's got some guns and stuff like that. But the bottom line is that they want to take that whole thing out. All they got to do is say the word, and they can take that thing out.
And it's gone.
And it's gone.
Simple.
But it makes us feel good to have our brothers. And it's good to see that he's standing up and doing some things. It's really a good thing to see. You know what I mean? But let's not get. This is what leadership is all about. What me and you are doing right now, we're going against the social code.
Absolutely.
We're not supposed to talk about that in a negative light.
Oh no.
No, it's not anything negative about it at all. It just happens to be reality.
Absolutely.
Okay. And as a leader, and what we talk about in the book, Art of Leadership, and you should be getting, I don't know if you should be getting this in the next day or so. I sent this to you. You should be getting it soon. In here, we talk about being honest as leaders, telling the truth, not giving our people, pipe.
That's right. Pie in the sky
pipe dreams, pie in the sky stuff. You know what I mean?
That's
making you feel good. That's not our job to make you feel good. Our job is to give you the reality of the situation, so we can lay down some good laws and some good some pathways to getting to where we need to go, getting over the hurdles of our challenges. We have a right, we have an obligation to be honest about our challenges.
That's right.
And if that sounds like it's negative, the only reason why it sounds negative is because you happen to be emotional.
That's it.
There's no room for emotionalism right now. With our situation, there's no room for being emotional. And if you're emotional, you're gonna have to walk. But we don't need you.
That's it.
We need the objective and critical thinking people to get us up out of this damn hole that we're in.
Teach. Absolute truth.
Yeah. So my brother, man, I want to talk to you all night long, man. I know, but we're gonna have to wrap it up. Do
That's
you
right.
have any closing comments you want to give to people before we head on out of here?
Well, I'm just going to cap it off by saying that the African world, the only way that we're going to achieve total freedom and independence from all foreign domination and control, I always like to remind our people we're going to have to do what I call the 7 basics. We must love ourselves. We must unite among ourselves. We must we must properly govern ourselves. We must thoroughly provide for ourselves. We must thoroughly protect ourselves. We must maintain continuous modernization among ourselves in all areas of life. And we must be the sole builders and administrators over our own modern and independent civilization and culture. Then and only then will we be in a position to secure our freedom, independence, and power in this world, in this life. Until we do those 7 basic things, we ain't got nothing coming. We ain't got nothing coming. And those 7 things are work. That you talking about work, that's serious work. And that's work now that we've got to do globally.
Yes.
The global job.
Oh my God. Very well said. And again, people, for you guys who want to get into Brother Batu's work, just go into the summary and description of the video that we're going to have under once we post this. And the links will be there to buy his works, his publications, his DVDs, and everything else. My brother, thank you for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. And
Absolutely.
we're gonna have to come back, man. We got a whole lot of things we need to cover.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to do it. This is work that's got to be done.
I say, my brother, take care.
All right, Ashe, brother.
All right. Okay, Ashe.